Hey, my name is Alec Burdette. I am 20 years old. I'm going to be a junior at Virginia Tech this coming fall. I'm going to be a business major. A little bit about me. My dad is that dude over there in charge of the whole weekend. I got 3 brothers and sisters. None of them have nystagmus. They're triplets. I like playing Frisbee in my free time. That's about it.
And my name is Jennifer, and I'm 23, and I just graduated college at LSU. And I have a twin sister, an identical twin sister, who does not have nystagmus, and I do. And I have a younger brother who doesn't. And I'm planning on going to grad school.
My name is Connor Simon. I am from Ohio, 15 years old, going to be a sophomore in high school. And a little bit about me, that's my dad over there. And we've been having fun in New Orleans. And I compete in a national karate circuit around the country. So I just travel around and compete in national karate tournaments. I do like extreme martial arts, flipping and stuff. And I was born with nystagmus. I've had 3 eye surgeries from Dr. Hurdle. I said Turtle, I think. I've had 3 eye surgeries from Dr. Hurdle, and he's amazing. And yeah, it's great.
Hello, I'm Kyle Rochefort. I'm 16 years old. I'm going to be a junior in high school next year. From Jupiter, Florida. I have one little sister. She's 13. She's right there in the front. My dad is on the board. Some things about me. I like to play football, basketball too. I don't know, kind of just into sports. I had the surgery with Dr. Hurdle about 2 years ago, and I think it really benefited me as well. So.
Hello, I'm Juan Gonzalez. I'm 21, going to be a senior at Cal Poly Pomona. I'm studying computer science currently. A couple things about me. I play Ultimate for my collegiate team, so we travel around a lot. And I was president last year. This year I decided to take a step back because it was very stressful. That's it.
Now comes the moment of truth. You guys get to ask questions and probe and dig, and I've got a few questions, but this really is time for you guys. And one of the things that we've decided is there really is nothing that's off limits, because we are here to try to learn from their wisdom, from their experiences. Like I said, I've got a couple of questions that I will ask for sure if we run out of questions, but I can tell from some of the fidgeting that we do have at least some questions already. So the only thing that I'll ask is please put it into the mic so that it can go onto the cameras and then onto the web. So, shall we begin right here in front?
So I heard a number of you say that you are in college or are close to graduating from college, and I'm wondering, when you applied to college, did you indicate that you had nystagmus, and how did that work out in terms of your application? In other words, did you indicate that you were suffering from this problem, and did it matter in terms of the application?
In California, you have 2 essays that you write when you go to the university UC system, so the part of the state school systems, and one of the essays is describe yourself and a hardship that you've gone through. And for that essay, I wrote about nystagmus and that sort of hardship that it's occurred on my life, and how it's affected me playing sports and sitting like in school, and so I used that as my essay focal point for that specific question. And then as far as like, did I include it, like when they ask, do you have disabilities or not on the college application, I think I included it, but most of the time now it's like I don't include it. For like job applications, I haven't included it, and I've stated in additional details visual condition that needs more explanation in a way.
My situation is pretty much the same as Juan's. The application itself didn't actually ask if I had a visual disability, but I did have it write an essay about it. I didn't include it on any of my job applications either.
I've heard a number of people say that they've learned that certain things work better for them that may be something different for someone else. Like I think someone said that it might have been that they wanted something larger where maybe someone else needed something to be more crisp, like as far as fonts and letters and things like that. And I know that, as you're maturing in school, that you kind of figure out what maybe works better for you and what doesn't. And I'm kind of curious as to what age that started coming together for you, like when you were able to specifically say, okay, well, this is what I need, this works best for me.
Are you asking at what age we learn to accommodate for ourselves in our nystagmus?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Through elementary school, I had the IEP in 504, and I had accommodations for testing and some other stuff in the classroom, like getting overhead projections as like a handout. And at the end of fifth grade, going into sixth grade, I didn't want to have to do that anymore. I didn't want to have to be pulled out and separated from my class and everything like that. So I told my mom I didn't want to continue on with that and just did everything for myself in my class.
I would say about fifth or sixth grade was when I started the teachers would kind of come to me and be like, hey, if you need anything enlarged, if you need this printed on a different color of paper, if you need, something like that, then come to the teacher. Usually it was set, I had certain accommodations set that the teacher would just have to do. Like every graphing worksheet, math worksheet would be enlarged, or something set like that, or every textbook that we would read I'd have to have enlarged, or something set like that. But once it hit like fifth or sixth grade, I was kind of more for myself. She'd, hand out something, and I'd be like, hey, I need this enlarged, or I can't graph this because I can't find a slope or whatever because it's too, I can't like count the boxes as too small or whatever. But I would say that around that age, you should be learning to accommodate for yourself anyways, and that's like a good starting point around fifth and sixth grade.
I'd say I learned to self-advocate at a fairly young age. My parents made the decision to try to minimize the accommodations that I got when I was younger, like starting school. They wanted me to be more like mainstream, so it wasn't as obvious, so kids didn't have more obvious reasons to pick on me or to point things out. So I kind of learned that it was okay to like raise your hand and speak to the teacher and kind of speak up for yourself at as early as like pre-K and kindergarten. So.
Probably for me was around sixth grade when I started self-advocating. In ninth grade, or eighth or ninth grade, I can't remember, weird. I started going in the day before school started and talking to the teachers about it because I knew on the first day of school teachers were already stressed about everything else. So the day before, it was like a way for me to get to know my teacher, get them to know me, get to know my eye condition, and explain what it was so that they understood better. And I think it helped. It really depended on the teacher, which is that's going to be the hardest part always, is the teacher, whether or not like they're going to remember or not. So self-advocating and talking to the teacher, or what I did was I would always ask students, any student that was sitting next to me, hey, what did the teacher write on the board, or can I see your notes quickly? And I started that in like sixth grade.
I'd say I probably started advocating for myself probably around eighth grade or so. Up to that point, the teachers had given me about 100 or so gadgets to use because they really didn't know what I could and couldn't see. So I just had all these gadgets, and I had no idea how to use them. I didn't really want to. But by that time, I would start to tell my teachers, no, I don't really need that, or yes, I do need that. And large print didn't really help, and none of that stuff really helped. The only thing that worked for me was sitting up front and getting extra time on tests.
Was there any gadgets that did seem neat that was useful for any of them?
I mean, the biggest thing.
Repeat it for the camera.
Were there any gadgets?
I think what he said was, there any gadgets that did work for you?
The most helpful thing I found for me is the camera on my phone that I can take pictures and then zoom in on that picture, and that's about the only extra gadget that I use.
When I was in 5th or 6th grade, again, I never remember 5th or 6th, but I had this document camera that I used to slide papers underneath, and I had one at home, and I had one at school in the special ed room, and I sometimes would wheel it around with me, and that was bad, though. I didn't like that. Wheeling that. Ugh. But you used to just slide a paper underneath it. You could change the color. I could enlarge it, and it was on a monitor, and there was a little document camera. And it helped, but I'm not a big reader anyways, so it wasn't I really like to read with it anyways. I just go Spark Noted, so.
So I know you guys spoke to the children, or at least some of you did earlier. Can you just tell us, we weren't in that room obviously, what'd be the one thing you'd want those kids to take away from your advice on how to navigate this, and just how to you all seem very well adjusted, and we appreciate you doing this, so how to get the same out of life that you're getting?
I think the biggest thing is that if you make light of it, everybody else will too. I've always been the first person to laugh at myself, and because of that, nobody's really picked on me for my eyes or anything else, because if you're the first person to pick on yourself, they really don't bother, so.
I think that people will always, pick on you for something. There's always something that people will find to pick on you for, but if you don't let it be something that, kind of like he said, if you don't let it be something that somebody can pick on you for, if you just kind of, make it a joke. It sounds kind of bad, but if you almost make it a joke and kind of let it be yourself, then that's kind of what we told the kids is don't get bullied for it. Don't get made fun of for it. Kind of let it be yourself and embrace it. Kind of be like, yeah, if you've had eye surgery or whatever, I told them that, be like, yeah, I've had my eyes taken out before. That's pretty cool. Kids are whenever you tell somebody that, they're like, what? No, you're lying. But it's actually they won't. I think it's kind of cool, probably. And it's more of when you get to an older age, 4th, 5th, 6th. That doesn't really happen when you're littler, at least personally, because kids don't really pay attention and look at you long enough to really notice your eyes moving. They're little. They don't really notice it. So.
Yeah, just building on what they said, do not let it be something that you're embarrassed about. You kind of have to embrace it, like he said. If someone asks you a question, why are your eyes moving? Why are you tilting your head like that? Just tell them. They're not trying to hurt your feelings. They're just curious. They don't know what it is. They're not genuinely trying to make you upset. All they are is curious. They just don't know. So if you just explain it to them, they might have more questions, or they might be intimidated by the big word when you say nystagmus to them in response. But just definitely embrace it and don't be ashamed of it.
For me, it was always making a friend. So if you just have one friend that's a really strong support that understands, it will make a huge difference. The difference between my brother and me, I think, in middle school and high school, especially because my brother has it, and the real difference was my brother has a very strong group of friends, and I never did. And I think it was one of the reasons I was bullied more than my brother, because my brother he has those friends. He's very kind of smug. He'll make sure that if someone makes fun of him, he'll just kind of brush it off and laugh at them. And whereas I take everything very seriously, especially at that age, when someone made fun of me.
Next one.
Hi, how you doing? Are you guys all wearing contact lenses? And if so, when did you start, and was that a big thing?
I started in about, I want to say 6th or 7th grade. It was tough getting used to them. Like putting your finger in your eye can be kind of hard. But once I got used to them, I loved them. They're way more convenient for me. I don't know. The only time I actually still wear my glasses is when I drive at night is because of the glare from the contact lenses. But other than that, I love them.
I don't wear contacts, but I had glasses when I was little, and we did some tests on glasses and kind of my eyes, and they tested that from like 20 feet or whatever, and from like 5 feet or something, that the glasses made no difference in my vision. They didn't change anything. So that's when I stopped wearing glasses and contacts and just kind of threw it off to the side and went from another approach.
And I wore glasses from age like 4 or 5 all the way up until 15, and that's when I got my contacts. And I always hated wearing my glasses. I hated having them. I only wore them at school if I had to, and then took them off. And I loved getting my contacts because they help, at least for me, with the oscillation of my eyes. They steady it more because it weighs your eye more toward the middle. And to me, they're easier to have because with the glasses, there's still like a little field around the lens where you can't see as well. Whereas with the contacts, it's your whole eye.
I tried contacts probably around 8th grade or so, and that did not last very long. I couldn't get used to them. They just felt like there was something in my eye, and even like trying to get them in, it would just take me 20 minutes of poking myself in the eye every morning trying to get them in. It just wasn't for me, so I don't do glasses or contacts. It just wasn't worth it to me.
I don't wear contacts. I'm supposed to be wearing glasses, but I broke them like the day before I came. Sorry, Dad.
I guess just a follow-up. What is your effective vision, and do you feel those numbers accurately reflect what you see?
Corrected, I believe I'm 20/60, 20/55. Uncorrected, it's probably like 20/100 right now. It's a number. I don't care. I never known what perfect vision is, so I don't let it mean anything to me.
Before my eye surgery, I believe I was around 2100 uncorrected and around 2040 corrected. But after the surgery, I think I got to 2030 right after the surgery, like 2 days right after, not even able to open my eyes. But I completely agree with he said, like, it really means nothing. Like, it doesn't have any accurate representation of how well I can see. I kind of just let how well I can actually see.
Before my 3 surgeries with Dr. Hurdo, I was probably 2250, and I'm 2025 now after my 3 surgeries. And the only part that acuity has affected me is trying to pass the vision test for driving. So I just recently got my temps, and I passed like 20/70 on the left eye and like 20/40 on the right eye, because nystagmus really affects, because your eyes really work well together, and when you separate them, when you're not used to separating them, especially with nystagmus, it made it so hard. I mean, she said, everybody knows, you put your head in the thing, and then she was like, look at the left column, and she asked me to read her to the 4th line, and it was just silence. Like, I was like focusing so hard, but apparently you can pass with the 2nd line, which I don't know if you guys knew that, but you can pass with the 2nd line, and the 2nd line is easy. So, Ohio.
We're moving.
I honestly don't even know what my eyesight is without my contacts, but with my contacts it's 20/80, which is the best I could get, trying to do the little, like, whatever that little eye chart is, because I'm really bad at that. And also, I just got my license renewed on my birthday in June, and I had a hard time, like he did, with the little put your eye in and read the lines. And I just sat there for a second. She was like, did you hear what I told you? And I was like, oh, yeah, I did. I'm just trying to look at it. But she just kind of like coached me through it, so I don't know if that was cheating, but. Oh, yeah, and I also don't have my driver's license. It's just a permit, because I don't drive.
Yeah, like them, my vision's probably 20/60. What do you say? What?
2040 to 2050.
2040 to 2050. Yeah. Honestly, like that's the only time in my entire life the numbers meant anything to me was trying to get my driver's license, and like them, like I would just sit there and look at the chart. I think I sat looking at the line for 10 minutes before I would finally like say that one. He'd be like, "Nope, try again," and I got like too many tries. Shh, don't tell anybody. But anyway, like that's the only time it's ever affected me. Honestly, like I've never felt like I couldn't see anything I needed to see while driving, so it's never really been a big deal though. So.
And last one, and then I'll pass it on. What was the most challenging aspect of the classroom experience? Like, growing up in the various classrooms, what was the most challenging part of that? The whole classroom thing. Was it seeing the board? Was it reading along with text, or what was challenging?
For me, it was reading personally, but like I said earlier, I don't like to read anyways. But I used to, especially when reading along with the class, I used to read. We'd be reading, and I don't know, I get fatigued. My eyes get fatigued, and I'd start to see doubles. And it's, when you're reading, seeing doubles is, oh, God. Seeing doubles while you're reading is so hard because it's like, and then you miss lines and stuff. And I've always been a good reader. Like, I've always been able, like, especially reading aloud, I've always been a good, like, public speaker in reading and everything. And like if I had to read to the class, I'd be fine. I could follow along. But after a while of reading, maybe 15 minutes, my eyes hurt. They kind of burn, you know. And I don't know if it's nystagmus or just a burning passion for reading, but you know, I don't know. Literally.
If I had to say one thing, it'd probably be taking notes, like copying down what was on the board. Even sitting in the front, it can be kind of challenging reading the tiny little words that the teachers write. So, other than that, I mean, it wasn't really the font in the books wasn't really that much of a struggle for me, but it was definitely seeing like things across the classroom was more of a hardship for me.
Taking notes, especially in classrooms where the front seats were like farther away from the board, because there are some teachers that like having that walking space, and those classrooms are the hardest. In college, it tends to be the case, but one of the best things in college is I'll pull out my phone, just take a picture of it, and zoom in if I miss something, so it doesn't distract anyone. And most of the teachers, since I talked to them beforehand, they don't care. They're like, okay, like just don't make a big deal of it, or don't make a scene or anything. And it's very easy. You just put your phone up and picture, and then zoom in.
One of the harder things for me in high school, a lot of my classrooms, instead of putting stuff on the board, they had a little TV in the corner, and they would do all of their class slides on that little TV, and that was the hardest thing ever. Even being in the front of the classroom, trying to take notes on that little TV. But one of the best things at my university and for disability services, you can get note takers. And so when I had like big classes, it's like 200 or 300 kids, and I can't get where I'm sitting. I can't see, even if I'm in the front, it's still a big room and a big auditorium, and I can't see. They'll get people in that class will go sign up to be note takers, and they'll send you your notes via email, or you can go to disability services and they'll print them out with a free printer or whatever else you need.
I never really had problems like reading things up close, but the biggest problem to me was like overhead projectors, because it was really low contrast, and my teachers couldn't, like their handwriting was horrible, so I just could barely read any of that. So that was about the biggest thing I had issues with.
One more thing is that I had trouble with graphing. Graphing was one of my biggest struggles in math, at least. Whenever we were graphing, it was like hard.
What he said.
What is the most challenging thing that you have to deal with, other than schoolwork and other than bullying, living with nystagmus?
Playing Ultimate. It's like, the reason I play it and I love it so much is like, it's the team sport, it's the team aspect, but it's like, it's not a ball that I know will kill me if it hits me in the face, because it has hit me in the face. It's just training the hand-eye coordination to an extreme, and it's very helpful. but it's also very hard at the same time.
Reading road signs. I've had to use the Maps app on my phone a lot. Just have Siri tell me where to go because I can't really read the signs. I kind of have to memorize landmarks, like turn right at the Wendy's, rather than on this street. So, yeah.
He's late a lot. Mine would be is I don't really usually notice things that I miss out on unless someone else can see something that I can't. Like traveling on a road trip and playing like car games where you have to like find letters and you have to look outside the car. I always sucked so bad at that because I can't see the license plates, I can't see the signs, and just only noticing it really whenever you realize you can't as much as someone else can.
Honestly, the biggest challenge for me was probably just getting my license because there was just so much paperwork and hassle that the DMV put us through. It was just like a 6-month battle for no particular reason just to get my license. And now that I've got it, I'm not giving it back. So.
Just one more question for the female on the panel. How is it putting on makeup?
Actually, it's not as hard as you would think, but I still can do this eye so much better than I can do this eye. And I think it's because I turn my head this way, and it's easier doing one side.
I was curious, and if there's any adults in the room with nystagmus as well, do you notice a difference between print writing and cursive writing? Is it more difficult for you to read cursive writing?
Absolutely. At least for me. It's like the difference is beyond belief. I was telling my dad this the other day. The writing that was on the board for the nystagmus thing, I couldn't read it. Like even when I was like standing right here at the corner, it's really hard to read cursive writing for me. And maybe it was I wasn't taught it that well in school, but it was just like, it's like a foreign language almost whenever I'm reading it. So print writing is good.
For me, there's no change. I write in like a mixture of cursive and regular, and so for me, it's easy no matter what.
It's very much a difference for me. Like cursive, I wrote cursive up until the time about 9th grade, and I legitimately couldn't even read my own handwriting. Teachers would like come to me and ask me what I wrote there, and I don't know. So I finally switched over to print because I realized I could read that so much better, and even that isn't great. Like I still have horrible handwriting, but it's still so much better, reading and writing.
Well, teachers ask me all the time, like, what's this say? And I get points docked off for handwriting sometimes, but I have a great excuse, and I just use nystagmus as my excuse for bad handwriting. But cursive and print, honestly, print is so much easier for me, and I can read cursive just fine, but I'm not as great at writing cursive. I don't really think that has anything to do with nystagmus. But kind of similar to that, though, is in math class, and I don't anymore, but I used to. I used to have on my IEP that in math class I was allowed to write in pen and not pencil because pencil's very light, and I had trouble seeing the pencil. So I used to write in pen in math class, but that might have been another excuse to not have a pencil, but I don't know.
I never really had many problems as far as cursive versus print. I, too, kind of write with my own little scribble handwriting. So, I mean, teachers think I have good handwriting, but I don't know.
Next question.
This is probably a question for 4 of you because I know you have a sibling with the condition too. But aside from a gathering like this kind of group, when was the first time that you met someone else with your condition?
I've been going to conferences since I can remember. So 3. I was 3.
Today.
2 years ago at my first conference.
Yeah, I'd say the conference in Orlando, my first conference too.
My brother. Seriously, my brother's eyes don't move that much, so, or at least I can't tell, so probably the first time I saw, like, really notice his eyes move were probably, like, when he was in 1st or 2nd grade. So it was kind of, I was in 3rd or 4th grade at the time when I first noticed his eyes move.
We've heard a lot this weekend about how stress will aggravate your condition and cause your eyes to wiggle more. I'm curious if any of you have come up with any sort of coping mechanisms to deal with the stress other than surgery and other than eye drops. I mean, does, we heard somebody talk about meditation today, and just wondering at your age group, because there's a lot of things going on in your lives that are stressful, what have you learned to do to cope?
Short term, like right then, like if I feel overwhelmed or stressed out or anxious, if I can just sit and close my eyes and like just calm down for a second, I can usually open them and I'll be a lot better.
I don't really get super stressed out, but if I am, or something's with like homework and stuff like that, sometimes you're stressed out at night of homework, but I listen to music and chew gum. I mean, those are probably basic things that a lot of kids do, but I mean, I just try to tune out I just like to listen to music, chew gum, just stuff that'll kind of, probably annoying to my dad trying to sit there, but sometimes it's not on headphones, blaring music and like chewing gum and everything. But I don't know. I don't really get stressed out too much, and it's just reading and stuff that really flares it up.
Yeah, I don't really get very stressed out because of my eyes. I mean, I get stressed out because of other things, but it has really nothing to do with my eyes. So I kind of just, there are some times where I'll kind of just be like, wow, I can't really read that, and it'll kind of make me a little bit upset. So I'll kind of get a little bit anxious, but I just kind of just take a breather, just take a minute and just close my eyes for a second and then try again, and it kind of helps me relax.
So I have two things. The first one being just resting, closing my eyes for like a couple seconds and then reopening them. And then the second one deals with test taking. So when I take a test, I'll usually go through the test once, just look at every question and mark questions I know I can finish quickly and finish easily, like I know the answer to. And then I might circle questions that, like for computer science, there are a lot of programming questions, so program this on the paper, which I know will take a long time and will kind of stress me out. So I'll mark those, and then I'll do a stressful question and a non-stressful question in that order usually. So don't follow the 1 through 10, just go like 1, 5, and that sort of order. And that's very helpful.
As far as stress goes, I don't really ever get stressed out. I'm a pretty even-keeled person, but on the off chance I do get stressed out, I usually just take a step back from whatever I'm doing, just go grab a drink or something, give it a few minutes, and then come back to it, and I'll feel better.
I think it's a good idea to tell your teachers. If you have a teacher that'll is cooperative, because some teachers are really not. I'm sure that if you guys have kids that have nystagmus, that their teachers are sometimes good with it, but sometimes they're not. But you can go to them and say, hey, I might put my head down for 5 minutes in the middle of class because my eyes are stressed, I'm fatigued, I'm seeing doubles or something like that. But if I have my head down, I might be sleeping, but I'm not, I promise. But, you just kind of have to tell them that you're putting your head down to rest your eyes, or that's a good idea to help in the classroom at least.
All right. For those that are going to college, actually, what kind of, and we kind of touched on this, some of you, but, help available and, your experience with that, staying up with the work, how that's been for you, how, have some colleges been more open and, with help or whatever help that you've needed, or if you've just simply said, no, I don't need anything.
I mean, colleges don't really come to you at all, but if you go to them, they're more than willing to give you the stuff you need. And I know I talked to Juan about this earlier. One of the coolest things is we get priority registration for classes. So you don't have to fight for everybody else to get the classes you want. You get registration first so you can get the classes you want when you want them, which is really nice. And you get note takers, which is also pretty cool.
Yeah, the disability services at LSU, the only thing I utilized was note takers, but you could get extended time for tests. You could be able to take your test in the Disability Services Center instead of having it in the classroom with the other kids. There were a couple more things, because I had another girl in my major that did a lot of disability services because she was blind, but I don't remember what else she got, but there was a lot of stuff.
What are you all majoring in?
Computer science.
Hospitality and tourism management.
I just graduated with my bachelor's in child and family studies and psychology, and I want to get a MSW.
Going back to the question quickly, so for me, freshman year, I did priority registration and double time on test. And then as far as note-taking goes, it was a case-by-class basis. So there's one class in particular where the board is really far away from where the front of the seats are, and that's where I usually either take a picture or have a friend take notes for me. And that was nice, but over time I tried to advocate more for myself instead of using the Disability Resource Center. So this year especially, I would talk to my teachers ahead of time and schedule tests to be taken with them instead of at the Disability Center, so that it was a way for me to get to talk to my teachers more, to actually build that relationship, so that when I do go off to the workforce, I know I can do it without having to deal with HR or always having to go HR for that stuff.
One thing I will say about using note takers though is I also have attention deficit disorder. So one thing I find is if I use a note taker, I don't pay attention at all in that class. So I try not to use them unless I absolutely have to.
With my note takers, I would get their notes and I would still try and take my own, because if I write it down, it's easier for me to remember it, trying to learn it in a classroom, than just being oh, I don't need to write notes, I'll just sit and listen, because that wouldn't work for me.
Can any of y'all ride a bike?
Can we ride a bike?
I can ride a bike.
Yes, I have a bike.
Yeah.
I ride my bike everywhere. I love riding. My dad kind of a cyclist, but I love riding my bike. It's great.
I would say about Alec, he taught his 3 siblings how to ride a bike because his father was too impatient.
I probably haven't ridden a bike in about 5 years, so right now I'm not sure.
I didn't know riding a bike in Nystagmus was a problem. Is that a problem?
What else do we have out there? Excuse me.
All right, so this is going to be easy for you guys because all you have to do is give me a number. From a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no problem at all, to 10 being it's the worst thing you could ever imagine. How much has nystagmus affected your life? From 1 being good, 10, just give me a number.
Pi.
2.
1.
2.
I'd say probably a 2.
That's a fantastic.
What else do you want to know?
Okay, we're going to get a little personal now. Dating. Any weird questions from boyfriends, girlfriends, and how do you deal with those questions?
Go ahead.
I actually just got turned down for a date because I don't drive, and because of not because of my eyes, I guess just because I don't drive, and he said that was a deal breaker. So, yeah, that was the first time that's ever happened, though. Yeah, and then later that day he texted me back. Well, later that day, he's like, well, I guess maybe it's not a deal breaker. And I was like, no, that ship has sailed.
I know my dad's in the room, but when I've been kissing a girl, kind of come back before, and she's been like, "Well, your eye's going that way," and I've been like, "Sorry, I'm a little excited."
My current girlfriend I told her beforehand, and she was like, "Oh, cool," because we met online, and then when we first met, she noticed, and it was like, "Oh, that's cool," and nothing else came of it. But I've gotten weirder questions from friends, I don't even know if I can say all of them. Just random questions is the world moving for you? If they've moved their finger around like this and gone oh, is that moving with your eyes or something? Just weird questions like that where it's you just laugh at.
Well, you know my girlfriend, so. Yeah, my current girlfriend, Olivia, we've been dating for almost a year and a half, and she's been great with it. She doesn't, we've actually gotten to the point where we're kind of comfortable enough where she kind of teases me about it. But, yeah, I kind of just, when we first started dating, I actually went to middle school with her, so she knew before. But yeah, I just explained it to her, and she was totally fine with it.
It's never been a particular problem for me. Nobody's really asked about it, so.
What other questions do we have?
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
I know that some parents probably wonder when they have a child that is born with nystagmus, will they be able to live a normal life? And I totally say yes. There is nothing holding them back from anything, really. There is nothing that's going to hold your child back from doing anything. I'm sure that we've all, we all do things that, have kind of, people will think oh, especially doctors and stuff, you can do that and you have nystagmus or whatever. Some doctors will say that, but your child can live a normal life and there's nothing holding them back from anything. So don't worry about that.
Unless they want to become a commercial pilot. That might be a problem. It might be a slight problem, but other than that, it's pretty normal.
Anything else from our audience? Excellent. Hey guys, we thank you for your candor, because we've heard over the years the feedback is when we hear it from kids, they shoot straight. So we really appreciate your open and honest communication, especially around the most sensitive topics that we probed into. And as a sign of our thanks and appreciation, we have a little gift for you.